Hello and welcome to the Cutie Art Crusaders, episode 169 for October 20th, 2015. My name is Rainbow Plasma. I'm the organizer and host this week on the podcast, and today I'm joined by...
Burnda1, the special guest coordinator.
And this week you'll be editing, or one of you guys will be editing.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And my name is Flutterguy317, and I am the media manager for the podcast.
Let's back up to the hopefully comment. What does that even mean?
It means that my life sucks and college sucks. And I have a lot of projects, and we didn't talk about editing before we hit the record button.
How is your school going, by the way, Bernd?
Yeah.
Welcome to the real world, Jim.
The short answer is good. I feel a lot better about it than when I was going to community college. But that being said, I just have a lot of projects just due often.
A lot more work than community college, do you find?
Yes, but it's a different quality of work. So it's work that I still enjoy. So I have what's today? Friday. So on Wednesday, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I have 5 days to do a 20-page link HTML hypertext book. And then I also have 5 days for a different class to make a fully CSS decked out web page for my favorite foods and drinks, along with complex positioning. And I just kind of look at that and I'm like,
ooh, does that mean you get to use floating divs and stuff?
Yeah. Weak.
Those are my favorite kind of divs.
So it's just it's a bunch of junk, and so most of it it's just copy and paste code, and I can do some simple stuff, but I mean I guess I can't complain because I'm happy about the projects. I just got to sit down and do them, and it's just it's a lot of busy work, you know.
Yep.
So I'm stressing out about the busy work. That's all.
Yeah. That's basically my experience with university so far, so I'm right there with you.
That was mine back in the day.
Sweet.
Although the difference is I think I only have I think I have many less years than you do, so I don't know how long your program is, so I've only got 2 more years left.
My program isn't a set date. Well, technically it's supposed to be a 4-year degree, you know, but I went to community college for 4 years and just took a bunch of random bunk. And then eventually got a transfer degree, and so I skipped 2 years of my 4-year degree, so it's a 2-year degree, and I'm on my first semester of those 2 years.
We're gonna graduate at the same time, Bernd. If I continue the schedule, I might not.
So I'm technically in year 3 of said degree, but still.
Oh, I see.
And then that Joey Bean fan art will come true. You guys will get married.
Look at
that. Has nothing to do with school.
Adorable.
That's not how that works.
Oh.
So Joel isn't here today. He's sick. I don't really know more than that. He just said he wasn't feeling up to it, so that's fair enough.
Yeah. Poor guy.
So that sucks. Hopefully he's doing okay.
Yeah,
speaking of doing...
I was just going to say, I was sick.
Yeah.
Or I got kind of sick. I don't think I was sick for, the recording, but then, the day after, I was couldn't speak, didn't have any voice.
No.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid it right now. It's going around my the house that I live in, and also just around Ottawa in general, so yeah.
It's this time of year.
Remember to wash your hands, kids.
I feel like every single time there's a sickness that goes around, everybody says it's this time of year. What time of, there's no...
It's the sick time of year. That's all
always.
year.
It's always.
Exactly.
It's this time of year. What does that mean? The time where sickness goes around. You mean any week that just happens to have
yeah,
do
it's
that?
time when you get sick. Yeah, it's the sick times.
Yeah.
Merry sickness.
Don't you know that viruses mutate exactly on a 365-day schedule? So
basically, the solstice is when the viruses come out and have a party town, and
they shoot out of the sun, right?
Yeah. Except the solstice was a long time ago.
That's what Ted. You should change your username to Esophaguy317.
Oh my God, yes. And I'm Esophaguy317, and I'm the media manager for the podcast this week.
How did we? That name is so hard to say.
I know.
Never let you do that. All right, tell us your big news, Ted. I'm tired of transitioning.
Okay.
Forget transitions, just do it.
All right, so I got a new job. I am moving up to Boston in a couple of weeks, hopefully, which is really exciting news and really exciting for me. Yeah.
Said this to
Again,
the
let's
text,
back up
but
to the hopefully here.
congratulations.
Here's another hopefully statement that shouldn't be a hopefully.
Huh?
You do need to move for your job, so that's not a
Yeah.
hopefully.
Well, I mean, hopefully in the next like week or so, but it may take like a week and a half.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's exciting. I live in a suburb town in the middle of Connecticut, in like the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, it's
You're gonna be city
boring.
living now, boy.
Yeah,
He's
it's
a
gonna be
city
exciting.
boy.
I know. I'm so super excited.
It's cool because I feel like I'm the only city boy on this podcast. Although I will admit I have no idea relative to a city where Joel is.
Yeah.
In my mind, Australia is all the middle of nowhere. So
From what I've seen, like he's definitely in, like suburbia.
He's in.
yeah.
Yeah. He's in like a more urban suburbia than where I live, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But cool.
But yeah, you're moving out of the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Bern, I think you're moving out of the middle of nowhere soon too.
I'm
that's exciting.
attempting to, yeah.
Yay.
Good. Come to the city. See our vast swaths of
I'm basically
weird stores and
people.
homeless people.
I'm like half an hour away from like a decent drive to the city, and so I'm gonna be moving like right outside of said city on
Nice.
the edge of it. So then I'll be like 5 minutes from said city.
I'm on the edge of my city too.
So I'm taking like a 25-minute move down towards civilization, which will be really nice.
Nice.
Hopefully, that ain't guaranteed.
There's a lot of
We're
hopefullys
looking.
on this podcast.
There is. This podcast is going to be called Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully something.
So this upcoming weekend, which is this past weekend for those of you who are watching,
Hopefully.
I am actually going up to Boston to do some apartment searching.
Is this a good time for your shipping out to Boston jokes?
Yeah.
You're just
What?
gonna play that band like
Shipping
the
up
entire
to Boston.
Oh, I'm not.
Whoa.
I don't listen to
time? I expect you.
Coldplay.
What?
Wow.
I expect you to play Dropkick Murphys like the entire time that you drive
Yeah.
there.
I hope people realize that's a joke. I might be ignorant about music, but all right. Cool.
Hopefully.
Hopefully that goes well for you.
Yeah.
It's
Thanks.
every single time we say it on this podcast.
I know.
All right, so we should move on to the art. Unless you have anything else to add.
No.
Cool. All right, let's move on to the art.
All right, so the first piece that we're showing today is called What a Breezy Day by AJVL, and it is absolutely adorable.
Get it? It's a pun.
Yeah, I know.
I don't get it.
Wow. So this shows Fluttershy as a breezy, and
Is
she's
it because there's wind?
It's because she's like, in the it's because there's wind.
Got it. There's sun out. That it's a day. Yeah, got it. Okay.
Anyhow, I like the way that he depicted the foliage. It's very green. Yeah, it's a cool piece. She's cute.
Is my joke funny yet?
No.
No.
Darn. Yeah, no, it's a good art piece. Something that stood out to me immediately was I really enjoyed the difference in color between the leaves. So on the left-hand side, we've got this kind of cooler bluish color on the leaves, whereas on the right-hand side, it's a much richer kind of like yellowy green color, and I thought that was really cool.
You took my point. I was just gonna be like, I like the leaves.
I know. I think we all like the leaves. They're blowing in the breeze.
It's a good point. Color,
Yeah.
cool left, warm right, yellow. It's good
Yeah.
stuff.
It's just words now. You're just saying words.
Solid. There's blue
solid.
in the picture
Solid.
too. That's cool.
Painting.
Keep
Fluttershy.
going. Keep going.
Wings.
Yeah. Antennae.
There's contrast. That's cool.
Yeah. I like the fact that
I don't think we can do this for an hour, guys.
No. I like the fact that Fluttershy kind of pops because of her hair. And I mean, even her coat color is like different than the rest of the piece. There is like some yellows in the greens of the foliage down to the right, but like she's very contrasting to the rest of the piece.
Yeah.
Fluttershy is a very pleasant color scheme when matched up with like foresty, greeny backgrounds. She's got one color, so she's got two colors, main colors, which is the yellow and the pink, right? The yellow blends without disappearing with a lot of greens, and because greens and yellows are very similar to each other, and so like daylight scenes, greens and yellows, they go together, so it doesn't stand out too much. And then the pink is kind of like a nice complement to the greens, so it's got like half of it is working with the greens, half of it is going against the greens, and I don't know, I've always viewed Fluttershy more than any of the other ones as just looking good compared to like the most of the backgrounds in the show.
Pony color theory, I like it.
Yeah.
We actually, like, there was one episode we took like Fluttershy's color palette and like put it next to green, and it does match up very, very nicely. Like her eyes too are kind of like that bluish like turquoise, but they're still kind of like, greenish on the green spectrum.
Yeah.
Analogous body complementing pink. It's pleasant.
Yeah, and so you kind of get that feel here too. She fits in, but still stands out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she stands out one in color, but also feel like the strongest part that actually makes her like pop, so to speak, is the fact that the background is one, a different color than she is, and then two, the fact that it's much darker than she is. So like her body and wings and hair are all very like light and vibrant. Like when compared to this very dark, like silhouette and negative space around her,
Yeah. Well, there's this nice frame of the foliage around her in the foreground that kind of recedes to the background. So what's actually behind Fluttershy is all, blurred, very dark.
Very
in the
blurred,
background.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the reflective lighting on her. It's very subtle, but you can see there's some like yellows and greens and stuff that does
Gotta make it big.
reflect off of her.
Okay, yeah. When it's big, I can see that.
Yeah. Even
I'm curious about something, Bernd.
Uh-huh.
But I'm going to let Ted talk first because he wanted to add something that was relevant and mine isn't. So go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I was going to say, even on like her wings, which are like translucent or semi-translucent, there is this reflective coloring in certain parts of them. Which is
like
cool.
yellow on the bottom and the top tip, like the sun and stuff.
Go ahead.
So what I was going to ask was, and I don't know if you can answer this, Bernd, but is there any sort of term or common practice for composition kind of like this, where you start at a point, and it's not like a vanishing point, but you have a point. For example, in this piece, it'd be in the lower left-hand corner, and it seems like there's lots of lines that come out of that point, right? There's kind of like a cone shape that comes out. You can see it with the leaves. There's kind of like one line that goes up and then one line that goes over. And it's almost like they all point into one point, which is kind of at the stem of that bluey, those bluey leaves, right? Is there a term for that in composition?
I don't think there's a term for how specific you want to be with it, but the points you were making about how they seem to point or lead a specific way, there's terms for that.
Right, so it's like there's lines either going into a point or coming out of a point. It doesn't really matter, it's just all perception. But it seems like that is present in this piece, right? There's a lot of lines going into one point, which is the bottom left-hand corner.
I'm struggling to see what you mean. So, like, I can see that there's a lot of leaves, obviously, and each one's pointed, and they, like, point in lots of different ways.
Yeah, but I think
usually out from the background, but I'm not exactly get
I'll draw you a thing. How about that?
I think what Max is trying to say is like the group of leaves, the collective foreground leaves. Like if you were to draw a line where the foreground kind of recedes to the background, from the middle, basically the middle of the piece on the right side, it goes down to the lower left corner. And same thing with the very top of the piece. If you were to take like the farthest extensions of those leaves and kind of draw a line down, it doesn't quite go into the corner, but yeah.
So you mean that just like if we're starting in the bottom left, like all the leaves kind of just like they start from there and just kind of go like away?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a mix of them as well though. So like there's still leaves that point back down towards the right. So like the leaves on the bottom, if you look at most of the very like kind of prominent ones, not counting the little like flowers or scoops, most of those leaves, especially the very dark green ones in the bottom corner, point to the left. And then when you look at the brighter, more yellowy leaves, like some of them start like they kind of point up to the right. I guess everything on the bottom right points to the left, and everything up towards the top either points down, or there's still some pointing up. But the point is, there's lots of different like seeable like objects and shapes that are very visible, right? And they all have a certain quality, which is that they're kind of pointed, and they all point in different directions. And so there's lots of common directions in which they point, and lots of directions in which they kind of like break that. But the point is, and like the term you're looking for, is it creates an interesting composition and it creates movement, not so much in just that like it looks like they're kind of moving, but it also creates movement in your eye, so you see them and it like leads you to different directions. So like we've talked about framing a lot, and so the leaves are framing kind of like the dark blue and Fluttershy, but they're also pointing places which lead your eye to do certain things. And so there's certain like harmony in how there's a lot of leaves pointing in similar directions, or like starting from the bottom left, you know, with that like kind of the whitish blue flower, and then kind of like not leading you off. There's nothing to lead you off of the left hand side of the page or the bottom of the page. Everything kind of like leads you up towards the top right with Fluttershy. Yep. And makes you like look at her, and then again there's nothing that leads you kind of like again off of the canvas. There's some leaves on the right hand side that like push right back towards her, and the leaves in the top left, again, they kind of like arc and then lead your vision back down. So like your eye follows these shapes and these lines and these patterns, and it does a specific thing, and there's a couple different terms for that, but not so much just like a very specific type of composition that this is, right? It's just the strategies it uses. So
yeah, I sent you a link, and the two lines that I drew are basically the two lines that I was thinking of. The fact that the leaves come, like the edges of the leaves, they kind of form this cone, and it leads you up to the top right or to the bottom left.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's just framing like that. That's what we'd call like that's what you'd call that. And all it is it's framing the area around Fluttershy, and like the foreground, which is the leaves, is separating Fluttershy from the background, which is like the blue, right? And the midground is kind of like the blurry leaves on the in between.
Cool.
It's interesting that I didn't even notice that there's these dark leaves in the foreground until you kind of pointed that out, and it works because you change the value as you step back your layers to kind of give it depth. But it's interesting that that's not really noticeable, but it adds a lot to the piece.
Yeah, and it's the subtlety of it too, and yet even though you don't notice it right away, it still has like an effect on how you perceive it. Like if we were to take that out, it would be very noticeable in that there's just like bright yellow leaves on the bottom right, and there's no other color there. It would completely change how it feels. But then when you subdue it with that kind of like dark green, and then it's almost like a black like silhouette, it now puts you into the bush a little bit, and then also creates like a stronger sense of foreground and like up close. That makes sense.
Well, it also creates kind of a vignette around the piece in a way.
Kind
of. I feel like if that wasn't there though, like the bright leaves, those bright green leaves would probably draw your focus a little bit more towards them instead of up towards Fluttershy. Yeah.
The only reason why I'm hesitant to say vignette is because vignette's a very specific shape. So
yeah.
I would call it that it's just like dulled corners, and this is what we kind of mean by the term, but I know what Ted's trying to get at.
Yeah.
Anywho.
Okay, so the next art piece that we're going to bring up, there's actually two of them, so we're going to flip back and forth between them as we see fit. But for the most part, they're very similar. And so the first one is called So Many Wonders by Underpable, and then the quote-unquote sequel is Fireflies, by Underpable as well, and it's meant to be in some sort of sequence, obviously. And so I think everybody on the podcast really, really enjoys Underpable stuff, but a lot of the times Underpable does these goofy things that aren't necessarily conducive to us featuring on the show. But occasionally he'll pull out an amazing art piece because he's a great artist like this. And it's a really awesome piece. I love the color scheme of it. And, it's always fun to see these artists who do these small fun things also kind of step it up to the next level and show exactly what they can do.
I like the way that she's rendered in this piece, or in these pieces, because it's like certain parts of her are kind of tried to render in an almost 3D sense, but it's also fairly flat, almost like a paper craft kind of thing in a way, but without like the texture obviously and stuff. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's how it's so like it's the way in which it's rendered with like the color and then like the edges on the side. So like it's not in a show style sense where it doesn't have any outlines, so it definitely it lacks outlines, but yet it still illustrates it in a show like fashion because things are cell shaded and like shaded like solid colors. And there's also some areas that are more painted, like I'd say like the tail and the hair are much more like care like put into how they're painted. But then like her body and then shading on her body and like her horn, eyes, face, mouth especially is very cartoony, like cell shading, like solid kind of colors and areas, right? So it adds kind of like this semi-cartoony yet rendered character, which is very unique to Underpable. He's I would say that when he takes because he usually does like outlines and more show stuff, right? And then when he takes them off, he gets this like kind of very unique style with how he shades and with colors and stuff.
Yeah.
I also think the idea is just so adorable and cute. Poor Chrysalis in the first one is like, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
Well, like one, it's a really cute narrative, but then two, there's some really like Max was saying, there's really cute colors put into that narrative, right? So like it's a cute thing with her and this firefly or butterfly, almost is what it looks like, but it everything like in the background in the world she's in, including the firefly itself, is kind of like this almost like dull sepia, melancholy-ish, greenish, swampy color.
Very brown. Yeah. I think it's amazing to me that you can take Chrysalis's colors, it's this kind of like teal, some greens, but not exactly like good looking greens. They're kind of like limey greens, and then like this black, and like you can take all those colors. Those aren't colors that necessarily look that great or that vibrant or things that pop out or look cute, but when you compare them with the background, the context is everything in this case.
Yeah. Like the more subdued and muddy greens that are like all over in the background, like very like push forward and change how you would view the kind of neon green that's her eye and little like horse saddle, whatever it is.
Yeah. I think Underpable also, you were talking about the fact that it looks cartoony. Underpable does an amazing job at faces and at certain cartoony features, like, for example, Chrysalis's gigantic floppy ears.
Yeah.
And so there's little touches in there that I think really lend themselves to a more cartoony look, that if you cover the face up a little bit, it doesn't have the same effect. It doesn't have the same kind of like, oh yeah, this must be cartoony style. Whereas you can look at the face and look at it and be like, oh yeah, obviously this is cartoony.
One style choice that he used that I really, really enjoy is how he did the holes in Chrysalis. They like stand out in like a very unique way where it almost looks like he just took the eraser tool and kind of erased in there, but he put a little bit more care into it, obviously. But they're just holes. They're so, I don't know, they're just so like
they're perfect,
odd and like perfect, visceral. And I like how like perfectly placed they are, like in the legs for one, but then also in the hair. Like the hair like wouldn't hang like that, right? If it had like all these little holes in it.
It's impossible.
But yet I don't know. I think it's a nice way of doing it. It's visually pleasing in the way in which Underpable's done it. So.
It gives her hair the same kind of impossibility that her legs have.
Yeah.
Like it just, and the other thing on top of that too is the way that the hair is cut is like very clean angles. Like everything is like perfectly cut, and it just wouldn't happen, but it's such a cool kind of like character style
I really
he's
like
got
that
going
like
on there.
Diagonally cut hair hanging down.
Even
cool.
in the second one, even in Fireflies, you can see a little bit of it. You've got the perfect cutout hair circles and then the little diagonal ones, even though the hair on the top, like where it comes out of, is still kind of like loose and flowy like hair.
Yeah.
It's almost like it transitions into this like metal almost.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I've never seen someone do that with Chrysalis before, and I think that's a really interesting idea.
Yeah.
Legit.
I don't even remember. Was her hair wholly done in the show?
I don't
know.
I haven't gone back and watched the end of
Maybe.
season 2 in like
Google.
years.
I do.
But I really do enjoy the fact that Undurpable is making these awesome pieces, because Undurpable's one of those. I think he's like the leading artist that I love and keep up with that I don't often feature on the show. Like the amount of pieces that I love out of Undurpable compared to the amount of pieces that we get to feature, it's like the biggest ratio there, because just so many of his things are like quick and cute and like, just something that we can't really talk about too much on the show, but that I thoroughly enjoy.
Yeah. For the record, her hair did have a few little holes at the bottom of it, as well as her tail. And so Undurpable's chosen to make her tail very flowy in this one rather than add the holes.
Right. Huh. Maybe that's what happens when it gets waterlogged.
Yeah. Holes go away.
Yeah.
It's a style.
She becomes whole again.
Yeah. That was really bad.
Oh.
I thought it was good.
Hopefully we'll edit that out. I'm joking.
Yeah, I like how he's kind of hung her hair in the first piece, the So Many Wonders piece, because it adds a lot to her expression. It's like, well, it and her ears too. It's kind of like this downward flow, and like she's nervous and scared, and doesn't know what to do, and it all kind of adds into her expression. And like you mentioned before, he does wonderful expressions.
Yeah, it's like in the second piece too. The expression is like she's eaten it now, and she's like, I'm not sure if I should have done that, but I've done it now, so I have to commit.
Yeah. It tastes awful, but I'm going to keep going.
The moment of realization, like the moment in which she's just eaten this thing, right?
Yeah.
There was a small touch in this second piece that I wanted to talk about, because it's much easier to see in this piece than the last one. It's present in both, but in this one, Chrysalis's eyes are very, very green, and it actually produces a glow. So you can see it in the line around her hair near her eyeball, where the hair and the eyeball meet, which, by the way, would be very irritating.
Yeah,
but you can see it's kind of like
protective lenses or something.
Oh yeah, that's true. So you can see that the eyeball actually glows, and it gives off like a glow. It's this neon, like weird radioactive eyeball thing. That's kind of cool.
I have a question though. Is it the eyeball or is it the firefly?
I'm pretty sure it's the eyeball though, because the firefly doesn't seem to be glowing. Whereas look at the eyeball. Like when you look at that color, like it looks like it's glowing.
I'm gonna go with the eyeball, because if you look at her horn, you'll notice there's just a glow of green on the inside of the curve, yet not on the outside.
Oh snap!
Also, there's no glow on her mouth.
Yeah, that's true.
Facts.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice the horn glow. That's a really good point.
So what happened to this firefly's glow then? Poor guy.
Well, it never glowed in the first place, which is why it kind of looks more like a butterfly. But that's fine.
Yeah.
And it's also
artistic interpretation.
Firefly's question mark, so it could have not been a firefly.
Yeah.
It could have just been some weird glowy bug or green bug, Just eat it, because that's what you do.
Yeah.
Your weird hole-filled horse.
In case you are a fan of Chrysalis and you can't get enough art of Chrysalis, then I should highly recommend that you follow Undurpable, because even though he doesn't always have a lot of art pieces of Chrysalis, there are a lot of them in his gallery, and he seems to enjoy making, if not Chrysalis, then other strange alicorn-like things.
Yep. He's got a thing for the hole-filled horse.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so shall we move on to the last art piece?
Yes, which is mine.
Yes.
So, oh god. Oh, this wasn't the piece I thought I was going to feature. Hold on.
So how's your day going so far? Good?
Great.
I'm having a good day. I had to clean out a drain earlier today.
Yeah. It's awful.
I heard about that.
It was the worst.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. This piece, which is called MLP Atone by S08080.
I typed 090 and I couldn't get anything in my search bar, so I was like, I give up.
One number up.
Wow.
Yeah, sorry about that short intermission. Yeah, so I chose this piece just because I'm a sucker for the whole like Luna Tantabus thing. But I also just like the digital illustration of it. I enjoy this giant like flowing I guess unicorn or Tantabus that's like coming up out of Luna's hair, from like the bottom of the picture, and it's just like it's a cute narrative that's painted. I feel like there's good emotion displayed.
Cute's a word you could use.
Yeah.
So it's like there's I don't know. And I enjoy a lot of the different things about it.
I can't be the only person that keeps forgetting that the Tantibus was a thing. Every single time I see these art pieces, it just reminds me of Nightmare Moon. I feel like the two of them are so similar to each other that like I keep getting reminded of Nightmare Moon whenever I see a Tantibus drawing.
Right.
And then I go, oh, right, that episode happened.
I feel like they're very closely tied together, right? Like the Tantibus is
Right,
almost
even
like
conceptually.
it was pretty much like a thing like that haunts her from her past. I mean, it could even also be like one in the same. It could be like Nightmare Moon's dark power. I mean, like one,
right.
it was like her regret and guilt, but then in another sense, it's also this like dark power that like filled her. You know,
what if it's what drove her to become Nightmare Moon in the first place?
Yeah, you never know.
But they already explained what it was though, and it happened after. So
yeah, but what if it was brewing the entire? No.
Why would it make coffee, Ted? That makes no sense.
Head canons aside, it's a character in which I really enjoy. It's a theme I like, and I'm a huge fan of it. I actually I bought a Tantibus necklace at EQLA that I wear quite frequently now. Made by Silver Slinger, and so it's just
aren't
like,
you just the goat's knees?
I like to think I am.
But goats have, okay, I guess they do.
It's like cool, crazy, mystical unicorn thing. It's cool.
I enjoy it.
Yeah,
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I've come to realize recently, I've talked about it a little bit on the show, and I guess like it's always been like, oh yeah, I can enjoy sad things. I've come to realize I really enjoy sad things. I don't know why. I live a very happy life, and maybe that's it, because like seeing sad things is like reminds me like my life's awesome.
Wow.
But I love sad, like I love feeling the emotion sad. I don't know what it is. Like I was going through like my music playlist, and like yes, the music is well done and it has like a melody that I enjoy, but a lot of it is like it's got like the themes when you listen to the lyrics are like really sad. So I don't know what it is about me, but apparently I really like sad things. And this is the same thing that I viewed there. Like it was like, ooh, this is really good. It's a very powerful emotional draw, like you were saying, Bern. You know, so it's like that to me, like that gets the most emotional draw, and so it's like, yeah, I like it.
But I think also just like how well this is painted too, like how well it's illustrated. Like Luna is done really awesome, and like all of her color and like shading, and then the Tantibus as well, like how it's kind of like thick outline goes from like thick to thin and like waves in and out, and then also like changes in like opacity and like blends into each other.
Very wispy at points.
Yeah, exactly. And also the color too, like going from like a bright like cyan and then transitioning into like violet and then into like a reddish purple. And then with a bright red eye, so you have this like transition from like red to blue in like that entire spectrum. And then also the stars like filling the Tantibus. You know that Luna's hair like has stars, but the stars change color as well with the background, and they have like a glow on them.
Well, I mean,
like
in this piece, the Tantibus is her mane and tail.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that's a thing.
Like, the constellations in the background too are like a cute touch. It's just like
every time I see stars done like this in like a pseudo realistic way, I've just started thinking like, you poor artist. like how much work was that actually? Like, so, yeah, I guess you could cut corners, but even like masking that must have just been a nightmare. And then you have to do it twice, because there's one for the inside of the Tantibus and there's one for the outside of the Tantibus. Oh boy. Well, congratulations. It looks great.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with Bernd. I really like the way that Luna is rendered in this piece. You can really kind of feel the emotions that she's feeling. So, yeah.
like her body language too. So like her posture is like it's representing of her mood, right? Or of the emotion in which she's trying to convey, you know, like defeated, sad. I mean, she looks very like defeated, very powered over in this piece, right? Because she's so small. She's at the bottom of this huge like vertical composition piece, which doesn't work great on monitors, but because I having to scroll up and down. But it like the reason in which it's why it's in a vertical composition is because this huge, powerful figure taking up like more than half of the composition, like up, like powering up above her, and she also looks trapped like inside that little sphere, like in that bubble. So that, again, there's more narrative stuff like going on.
That is a very good point. I think vertical motion, or at least a vertical relativity is a lot more powerful than horizontal because you do get a sense of power. Those below are less powerful, those above are more powerful. It's looming over her, which is something that you could somewhat replicate with a horizontal composition, but there would still be a lot of verticality in it, and it wouldn't have the same impact as it does here. So that's a great point about using the composition smartly, right? Like I'm always talking about how I like wallpaper size, and I like that just because I like to put stuff on the background. But when you use composition smartly and when you use it for a reason, then it's like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. If you don't care about the composition or like which dimensions you use, then make it wallpaper size so it's convenient for other people to view it. But in this case, this is a great example of an exception to that rule where I say absolutely make that, non-wallpaper size because it serves a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back when you mentioned the colors because I didn't notice it at first, but I really, really enjoy the fact that it slowly changes from that blue into that purple, Like, it really is amazing how it can convey a different just emotion entirely, Like these colors hold these values in our head, not value as in like the artistic term value, but as in like the moral value, We have this moral connection with this dark violet and dark red that's like evil, and I find that so cool that that's just kind of coded in us.
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting thing about like color and emotion in color. So we've talked about it in like our color episode and stuff, and Jordana talked about different like emotions attached to color, especially it also differs from society as well. So different societal norms and stuff, different cultures have different emotions attached to different colors, but movies and stuff also use it. That's another like big artistic medium that will use color in which to push forward like different types of emotion. Actually, fun fact, I was just watching something recently where it was talking about how action movies will use blue and orange as their complements because one, orange lends to be a very good color to make like people and human characters look and like like to color them in a certain way, but it also creates the most amount of like excitement and like visual interest, and so it's just like quote unquote the best color composition for like making something exciting and visually interesting, and tons of action movies will use that effect of like bright, powerful, fiery like orange characters or like fire in the background with complements of like blue shadows and other characters to create this like very vibrant and drastic color composition, and like our emotions attached to that thing. And so like I thought that was very interesting because like I'm a big sucker for that type of color complement. But
that's interesting, because I would imagine too, like in movies like Mad Max, for instance, where it's like shot in the desert and they have a very vibrant blue sky. It's like they kind of color the sand a bit, like maybe in post or whatever, so that it's a little bit more vibrant, more orangey.
Have you ever seen
the sky is super blue?
The transitions from what Mad Max looked like to after like the color editing?
I haven't.
It's crazy. Mad Max is like one of the more like extremely heavily color altered films to add like feeling and emotion to it, and so it's actually really interesting if you go and look at the color processing that they did to the entire film of Mad Max. It's really awesome, actually.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
I imagine when you think about compliments, right, just very, very simple compliments, the three that we know the best, right, the blue and orange, red and green, and yellow and purple, I imagine that blue and orange, that pair, has the most daily occurrences in our lives, right?
Well, that's fine.
Red and green looks good, but blue and orange, I mean, the sky is blue all the time, and there's tons of stuff that's like a browny orange, and so like even our skin, or certain skin colors are very kind of like orangey in tone, and so that one stands out to me. Whereas red and green, we see a lot of green, but we don't necessarily see a lot of red. And purple and yellow to me is the one that like I look at it and it's it stands out complimentary, but it stands out like, ugh. I'm not a huge fan of purple and yellow, but the other ones I'm okay with. But there seems to be something about blue and orange that's why clicks with us.
That's why we have our own word for it.
Blorange, yeah.
Blorange, yeah.
And like every
Patent
color
pending.
complement has to be done
Hopefully.
in its own like rightful way, right? So like there's always going to be like a bad color complement or use of said color complement. And so
Right.
like I feel like we see a lot of use of like different purple and orange and stuff in areas where it's just like, oh, maybe that's a little off-putting, but there's also a lot of really good examples. This artist as well has examples in their gallery, and also this another artist, Paper Drop, if you know the name. They did a really awesome Twilight piece that I think we featured that had really good incorporations of like yellow in with Twilight. And so like there can be the right complements, but it's a delicate scale, especially with color and color theory.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is it for our art because we've only got the three of us. We've got a couple of questions here that we can go kind of long on. So we got a slow part of the podcast coming up here. So why don't we get right into it here? I'll take over the questions this week because Joel's not here. And the very first question, which is very relevant right now, when you're listening to this, is what is your favorite character from the initial roster of 6 in Them's Fightin' Herds? And that's sent in by DualShock. So, in case you don't know, and you've been living under a rock, a couple of years ago, there was a group of fans of My Little Pony who made a game called, I don't remember what it's called.
Fighting is Magic.
Fighting is Magic, thank you. And
By Main
so
6 is the company.
Yes. Yeah, so MANE6 is the company that they formed in order to make this game. And they got along pretty far into the development. I played some of the versions of it that it wasn't supposed to play, but hey, everybody did. It was looking really good. And then I got hit with a cease and desist from Hasbro. And so that shut down. Now, Lauren Faust looked at that and said, well, that's not cool. It looks like you guys did some great work, and it sucks that you have to throw out all this work. So she started working with them and designing new characters. And so they would make their own original characters with their own original story and scenario and everything like that with the help of Lauren Faust. And they would make their own games so that they couldn't get cease and desisted, but it would have the same spirit, the same fighting game spirit as Fighting is Magic. And recently, about a month ago, they put out a campaign for the game called Them's Fightin' Herds, a pun, of course. And they have an Indiegogo, which is just kind of like a crowdfunding effort right now going on. Now, at the time of recording, there's 5 days left. So probably by the time that you hear this, if this is Tuesday or Wednesday, it's going to be 1 day or 0 days left. And they're at 84%. So I have no idea whether or not they're going to actually make the goal or not. It's looking like it's going to be down to the wire. But that's a quick little history behind Them's Fighting Herds if you haven't heard of it before. You should go donate to it if you think it looks cool, because I think it looks cool and I hope it gets made.
Yep.
Yeah.
So going back to the question, out of the main 6 that were announced so far, the main 6 characters that are going to be in this game if it's funded, which one is your favorite so far? And I'm going to go last because my mouth hurts from talking.
All right, I'll go first. My favorite is Arizona. I like the character design. She reminds me a lot of Applejack, and she reminds a lot of people of Applejack. And
I wonder why.
In which she was modeled.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I appreciate her design.
So I actually don't know the 6 cast of characters too well. I basically only know Arizona and then the deer, whatever her
Velvet.
name is.
Velvet.
Velvet.
Yeah.
Because that's like the 2 characters in which I've actually watched the video of them fighting.
Right.
So I actually don't know the other characters that well.
Would you like me to list them off for you?
Yeah, go for it.
So there's Arizona the cow.
Okay.
Velvet the deer. There is a really fluffy llama or alpaca called Paprika. It's kind of like goofy and bouncy.
Nice.
There is a unicorn that is kind of, I don't know how to describe the unicorn.
Regal? Flowy?
Yes, a very regal unicorn called Oleander. There is a shy little sheep called Pom.
She's cute too.
Who has a bunch of little puppies that run around and help her fight. And finally, there's Tianhuo, which is half horse, half dragon with fire for wings and tail and a mane.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Those are the 6.
Okay. Anywho, so I haven't seen the other 4 characters fight, but Velvet, I really, really enjoy her sprite animations. I think they're the freaking coolest, and they're really funny too. So each character has like their own like different sprites, animations, and stuff, like when they are doing attacks or kicking or whatever. But whenever Velvet does her different like attacks or kicks or like power moves or whatever, she's always doing it graceful and she's always posing. So like in one of her hits, she just like does like a star pose and like puts her hoof up to her hair, and then when she blocks, her block animation is she gives you like the cold shoulder, and it's I thought it was just like the funniest thing. So like I've only seen her, but I've already fallen in love with her. And then when she gets hit too, like her getting hit animation is also really funny. So I'm gonna go with that.
That's a good choice. Honestly, I will have to say we've seen the most out of Arizona and out of Velvet, so those are the most polished ones. I think those are probably the best designed ones. They came out first. There was a reason why they came out first. Overall, they're probably going to garner the most amount of fans. I will say I really liked all of the designs, and I liked the half horse, half dragon, the Tianhuo, or however you pronounce that, the half horse, half dragon fire. I like fire. But I will have to say that the same as Burned, I really got captured by Velvet, and I just love the animations, and I love the style of the character. And honestly, there was a piece that was made by White Diamonds, a friend of the show. She recently made a piece with Velvet where she was like snuggling all of her like neck floof, and it was like the cutest thing I've ever seen, and that's what really made me say like, okay, you've won me over. This is my favorite character.
Oh, I hadn't seen this before. Oh my goodness,
it's so cute, and I like deer. Deer are cute, so yeah, let's go with that. I'll agree with you there.
I saw
Brent.
a really cool animation of was Paprika the llama, where I guess like that's like the bigger, stronger, jumpy character. And in this GIF, she was just sitting there, and it was just a looped GIF of her slamming her hoofs down and then like windmilling her neck and head around. And so she just kept like boom, boom, slamming the ground with her hoofs. And there's all these buildings in the background that kept jumping like up and down whenever she'd slam the ground. So like that was cute too. If she's like the big like the strong, heavy-handed llama character,
that's
that was
goofy.
pretty funny.
So yeah, those are our favorite characters. I'm really, really hoping that it reaches its funding goal. At this point in time, it's really hard to say. It looks like it might just miss it unless there's a large spate of donations at the very end. I'm hoping it does. I think it's a great game made by a great team. They really impressed me with the stuff that they did on Fighting is Magic, and so far what they've shown is really impressive as well. So hopefully that goes through, and if it doesn't, hopefully they find an alternative where it's not just project shut down, go back to your day jobs, right?
Yeah,
because I mean it does look like it could be a really cool game, and yeah.
The old Fighting is Magic played really well. It was tough. It was tough to learn. It's definitely more of like at least Fighting is Magic was like more of a hardcore fighter game as opposed to like a Smash Bros, which is like jam on the buttons. You kind of have to learn the combos more. But it still played very well. It looks great. It's got awesome music, amazing music. Honestly, I want this game to be made just for the music, because I loved the music that I've heard so far out of the game. So
yeah, it's kind of cool too because they have like a dynamic music system. So like switches up based on who's like doing better at the time, but it's like all kind of seamless. So I thought that was pretty neat.
All right. So, the second question, which is another one we can kind of ramble on about because we've got about 10 minutes left. And that question is, have you met any of the voices of the main 6? If yes, what was it like? And that is sent in by South Williams. I'm going to extend this and just say if we have any cool stories about voice actors or actresses, we should probably mention them here. But let's start with the main 6.
We have.
We have. Yes.
Yes. We've met half of the
Next
main
question,
6.
no.
Yeah. Move on. No, we've met half of the main 6. We've met Andrea Libman, and we met Tabitha St. Germain. And for
Andrea Libman several times.
yeah,
We've been to like 3 cons with her.
yep. Yeah, we've interviewed her kind of 1-on-1 or 1-on-2 rather.
Yeah.
Actually, she plays 2 characters, so it was more like 2-on-2.
2-on-2.
Yeah. And then we've also been in some press conferences with her, which was kind of cool. And then
and we had a press conference with Tabitha as well last year at BronyCon 2014.
Mm-hmm.
There was a press conference with her, and she was a delight.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those are the only 2. So Ashley Ball really doesn't go to conventions, which is unfortunate because like her characters are awesome. But she doesn't really go to conventions that often, so you don't get to see her around. I'm still hoping one day.
She goes to like 1 or 2 a year, though.
She started doing more lately.
Yeah,
Which is nice.
Which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
And also, Tara Strong, I have never seen. I've never been to a con where she is around.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I haven't had the chance to meet her. I think Bern, you have, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say I've been to quite a few conventions where Tara Strong has been there. I've been to the first time I met Tara Strong was actually at a non-pony convention. It was at Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle, and that's where I first met her and got her signature and like a picture and stuff.
Wasn't that for Lollipop Chainsaw?
She was there for a bunch of things. At the time,
Makes
she
sense.
had done Lollipop Chainsaw. She was also the Jester girl. What's her name?
Harley
Quinn.
Harley Quinn.
She was Harley Quinn, and then she's also Timmy Turner. And then she was also like head voice Twilight Sparkle for like 2 seasons. So there was a ton of people there for that, and so like half the people there were actually there because of the MLP hype. But anywho, so that was the first time I got to meet her, and yeah, she was definitely really cool, and like her voice is very like key again, like sounds like Twilight Sparkle, you know.
Yeah. I always, whenever we talk about main 6 voice actors and actresses, I guess they're all actresses. I always bring up the like braggy story that I have about them because when I was coming into BronyCon 2014, I flew from Ottawa to Chicago, and then the layover was in Chicago, and then Chicago to Baltimore. And I guess for whatever reason, there was a lot of layovers in Chicago, so I got off my plane, grabbed some food, sat down, waited for my next plane, and then proceeded to choke on my burger because in front of me, like 1 row ahead of me, was like a bunch of voice actors. Like Peter New was there, and Andrea Libman was there, and Sibsy was there, and Mando Pony, and like all of these people. And so I was like, so like I choked on my burger immediately. Was like, all right, I can either sit here for the next 10 minutes and finish my burger, or I can go talk to people. And so I threw out my burger and I went and talked to them. And they were really cool. I got to talk mostly with Peter New and Sibsy because I already knew them. So that was really cool. And then we loaded up and we got into the plane, and Sibsy was like a couple of rows back. So I was like, okay, bye. And I sat down, and who should sit right next to me but Andrea Libman? And I was like, oh, okay. And I look over, like it was 3 seats, aisle 3 seats. And I looked over to my left, and on the other aisle was Tabitha St. Germain. So I can always brag that at some point I was in the same row as half of the main 6. So that was really cool. I got to like chat with them about some stuff. They're quiet people, so I don't like to disturb. I'm not like a get a selfie, get an autograph kind of fan. I more like to just talk to them like they're people. So it was really cool. So that's my kind of personal experience with the main 6 voice actresses.
Did you?
I went on a plane with them right next to them.
Did you show them your OC?
I did not. Oh. Andrea Libman, outside of cons, you can see it inside of cons too, but outside of cons, very quiet, incredibly quiet. She likes her private time. So yeah.
Yeah.
We just kind of, I actually talked to her fiance. I think it was her fiance. I don't really know. There was a guy with her, and I talked to him a lot. We talked hockey, so
Nice.
I got to talk to him a lot. But yeah, that's kind of our stories there. What's some other standout voice actors and actresses?
You brought up Peter New, and we can tell that story. We were at Everfree, and this is back
2013.
This is back when we were with Everfree, and they suggested doing a walk around with Peter New through the vendor hall, so we decided to do that, and it was a lot of fun. Peter kept getting stopped by people, and like kept giving him gifts and stuff, and like people like there was one girl who came up and like asked him some advice on like getting into voice acting or something like that, and it was really nice.
Yeah, it was cool. I always we talked a lot about how cool all the voice actresses were this year at BronyCon. Like I've got a lot of stories that I like now I love Kathy Westlock, like now I love Nicole Oliver. Like I think they're just so awesome. But I will always remember Andrew Francis for as long as I live, because he is the coolest guy. When we were at Everfree Northwest, we got to do some one-on-one interviews. So Bernd and Joel did a 2-on-1 interview with Andrea Libman, and Ted and I did one with Andrew Francis. Andrew Francis is the voice actor for Shining Armor. And like this was our first professional interview that we'd ever done. We should not have been there. Like we were not experienced, but whatever, it's a pony convention. And he was just the coolest guy. Like he immediately was like, how's it going? How's your con? Let's chat about stuff. Like I saw you wearing this. Like, are you a fan of it? Like it was just like immediately we both clicked with him.
Dude's a bro.
And the interview just went flawlessly. And I had a great time. I had a smile on my face like for the rest of the day. He's just genuinely an awesome guy. And it's genuinely made me sad that I haven't seen him since, because he was so amazing, and I would love to do another interview, or at least just chat with him again.
Yeah, I agree that was such a fantastic time, and like he was just so like genuine and personable, and like really like got to know us, and we got to know him and stuff on the interview. And it was a really good time.
A funny story about Andrew Francis. The year before, because this was 2013 Everfree Northwest, right?
Yes,
which you guys met him at Everfree Northwest 2012. Was when I had this really cool event happen where I was at like the charity auction, and someone had bought a derpy from someone for like $660 and then gave it back to the guy, which was
right,
crazy.
and they gave it back.
And, I still remain friends with that guy today. But what was funny was I was trying to track down the guy because I couldn't, because I wanted to thank him and like give him a picture and stuff. But I couldn't find him at all, and so then what ended up happening was I was in the signature room, and I brought him up, and then Andrew Francis knew who he was, and he was like, oh, like no way, like I know him. If I see him, I'll text you and tell him to come here. I was like, oh, okay, here's my card, here's my number. And then sure enough, like an hour later, Andrew Francis texts me, and I was like, oh, hey, by the way, this is Shining Armor, I think is what he said in the text.
Do you still have that text? That's amazing.
Probably. And so he was like,
that's awesome.
He was like, yeah, what is his online name? I don't want to use his real name. I think it's Cardale or something. Forget his online handle. Is here in the signing room. So like like come on by, and like you can give him your gift that you wanted to give him. And it's like, so that's funny. So I think I still have it saved in my contacts. Andrew Francis.
That's so awesome. I love the fact that it's like the text message is like, hey, this is Shining Armor. That's like so cool. Like if that was me, I would like stop in the middle and be like, ah!
Did you faint on the spot? Like
I'm actually curious if I still have that number in my phone. It's probably not even a cell phone number anymore. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, that's
he was probably like, oh no, I gave it away to someone random. Now I gotta change it.
I mean, he is a Twitter. He gets messages of people all the time.
Yeah.
Honestly, like when I look back on it, we've had some really, really great experiences with, I would say, the majority of the big name voice actors and actresses. They've been nothing but great. Some of them are more professional, like quote unquote professional. I don't mean that I mean that sometimes Andrew Francis was an example of someone who was just happy to be there and like a ball of energy, and was, like you said, very genuine. Sometimes there's some people out there who are a little bit more professional. They've done, this isn't their first rodeo, that kind of thing. But overall, we haven't had a single bad experience with any voice actor or actress. They were all awesome. They all had their own quirks, and they all came off as very real people, which was really awesome. And I think they're all just happy to be a part of something where they're appreciated, because voice actors and actresses are often very unappreciated.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I do still have that text message on my phone.
What does it say?
I have him saved as Shining under my Shining Armor under my contacts, which is why cute. I think I connected it. But it just says Jason is the dude who was at the charity auction. It says Jason just showed up to the signing room from Andrew. It's a little like sign Andrew.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did he put a heart afterwards?
No hearts or squiggly or winky faces. It's a sad day.
You could still have a chance.
Yeah, I mean,
hopefully
technically have a picture of his underwear.
Excuse me? And that's a story for another day, folks. Cliffhanger.
All right.
All right, well, that is the episode, actually. So we need to do the plugs. So who wants to do that?
I'll do the plugs.
Do it.
All right. We have a DeviantArt page, which is cutieartcrusaders.deviantart.com. We have a Picardo channel, which is picardo.tv/cutieartcrusaders. We have an email, which is cutieartcrusaders@gmail.com. We have a YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/cutieartcrusaders. A Tumblr, which is cutieartcrusaders.tumblr.com. Facebook, which is facebook.com/cutieartcrusaders. And Twitter is @cutieartcrusade because of the length of names.
No, don't go on. Just that's good enough.
Yeah.
That's a good enough explanation.
Yeah.
Just because of the length.
Just because of the length.
Yeah.
Twitter sucks.
All right. Well, that is everything for this week, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully it came out okay. And hopefully Joel's back next week. And hopefully he's not too sick.
Hopefully you'll stick around for a spoiler cast.
Yeah.
And
hopefully you'll stick around for that. Hopefully we'll make one.
Yeah. And hopefully this episode will be edited.
Yeah. Hopefully some of these hopefullys will be cut out. Oh, man. We have fun.
Yeah.
We have fun here.
All right. That is everything for this week. Do you guys have anything else that you wanted to bring up before we go?
No.
Other than like, I think we already mentioned, but what is it? Them's Fighting Herds. Like, if you want to spread it around, post on Facebook Arena or something.
Yeah, if you're listening to this on Tuesday or Wednesday, it probably still has time. You can still make a difference.
Want that to happen? Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Best of luck to them.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that by recording this podcast in the next couple of days, the good words will go off into the ether and produce a millionaire who spends a bunch of money on it. I don't know. Just gets it funded. That'd be cool.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I've got to stop. It's so bad.
It's addicting.
Thanks for watching. Whether or not you're on Picardo or on YouTube, we love you all the same. My name is Rainbow Plasma.
My name's Burned.
I'm FlutterGuy317.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Hopefully.
You stole my bit.
His underwear was red.